Hello and welcome. Today I've got something completely different than what you have usually seen on the channel. I've got Yamaha FZ8n that suffers from ignition problems. So this one is basically called FZ800, whatever you would like to call it. For me, it's Yummy. And next to it is her bigger sister. But let's focus on what's happening with this beauty. So, you should be able to switch on the ignition. Let me just switch to main hand. And once you press a starter button, obviously the emergency switch off is basically the kill switch is off, meaning we are able to start it. So if I press the starter button, it comes up with the engine check, or whatever you would like to call it, engine check light. That shouldn't be happening. You should be able to just press it and the bike should start right up. Some may say that it may be due to the stand itself being engaged, and please disregard the beautiful chain right there. This bike doesn't belong to me, so I don't really have an influence over that. But no, it should start right away when you press starter. So I'll show you what you can do about this. So first of all, we'll switch the bike off. Sorry for all the noise. I'm close to the very busy road, so I won't be able to do much about that. Anyway, what you have to do in the first place is to remove the seat. And if in FZ8, unfortunately, there is no other way just to remove the seat by undoing these two screws. So what I'll do, I'll remove the seat first and then I'll come back to you. In the meantime, I thought I'll let you know what can you use to undo the seat. You'll obviously need a size 5 Allen key or one of these with size 5 end as well. So whichever you have, they are both pretty capable of doing that. Obviously this will be easier, but hey. Okay, now that the seat screws have been undone, we can just pull the seat upwards and it will just come off. Just be careful on the screws not to scratch your paint. Once you do that, you'll be presented with this. Obviously you got some relays, battery, your battery terminals and so on, but the very first thing you have to always check in a situation like this when your bike doesn't want to start is this right here. This is going to be your fuse box. So I'll open it up and I'll show you what's inside. Alright, so I managed to open it up, and if you take a look inside, first of all, if you would like to open it up, all you have to do is just basically press this tiny latch, which is kind of hard to access, but you shouldn't require any tools to do so. Anyway, if you have a look at the sticker right here, it says ignition 15 amps. So what you would like to do is to basically take this fuse right here. Mine's blue, yours can be of any other color, but it will still say, at least it should say 15 amps. So you need to remove this, preferably by first of all disconnecting your battery, but if you prefer YOLO style, you can just take it out and check what's the condition of it. So let me go and do that and I'll be back with you. There are different tools and different methods, but my favorite one is pliers. As long as they can reach and take out the fuse, I'm happy. So if you have a look at that fuse, it's perfectly fine, doesn't have any issues. So this one's not burnt. We are a little bit out of luck in here, because in a lot of situations your battery may be failing and the fuse will go, and that's probably where your issue could come from. Well, maybe not probably, but in a lot of cases. Anyway, as we know that the fuse is not the problem, we'll carry on. So fuse goes back in, close it. You could also check all the other fuses, like your head fuse, some relays and so on, but obviously this one would be the quickest option. Also make sure that your battery is fully charged before you do anything else, because believe me or not, in a lot of cases it's the battery that may be the issue. But if you checked your battery, you checked your fuses, the next thing will be this. So this is a starter solenoid, and it's quite important in order to start your bike up. But one thing I have to say before we go ahead is disconnect your battery, because you've got your negative and positive cables that go straight to the battery And last thing you want is these two shorting against the frame. There is also, that's the reason why there is a plastic cover on top of it. So before you remove this and remove your solenoid out, disconnect the battery. So this is what I am going to do now. And all you need for this will be just a Phillips screwdriver. Maybe in a little bit better condition than this, but as long as it works, you should be fine. Also, one pro tip, make sure that your Phillips screwdriver always fits, as in it's not too small or not too big, because otherwise you'll be destroying heads of your screws. Fortunately, we can always use sockets on this screw, but just a tip for other Phillips and posi screws. So what I'll do the positive terminal of the battery, because it's gonna be easier due to the angle of the bike to screw this back on later. Okay, so now that the battery is disconnected, we don't really have to worry about anything frying up, as long as obviously this doesn't make a connection. So if you'd like to make sure that nothing's gonna happen, basically wrap a little bit of a cloth around the positive terminal and it should be fine, as long as it's not wet. Anyway, now we can go ahead. Obviously this moves, but as long as it's away from the positive terminal, it should be okay. So now we can remove this. And what this is, obviously, is the starter solenoid that I have mentioned before. I'll open it up by pressing these two clips on the side, and now it opens up. Also, I forgot to mention that you could always check these two fuses in here, but I've also done that. Obviously, this is your spare fuse. This is the one that will be operational. So I've checked this one already. It's not in a bad state, and it's all good. So obviously, my next step was something that I have to reconnect the battery for, so I can show you what I have found. So please allow me to do that and I'll be back with you. Also, one thing that I forgot to mention before, obviously telling you to go ahead and replacing your solenoid, is check if yours doesn't have loads of oxidation like this one. This one had a lot of oxidation inside. And this is the way I found that basically there is something going on with the solenoid, because this was literally green inside. What could be happening in that case is those contacts may not have enough basically contact with the cables inside here, and that's where the electricity won't go through. So first of all, before you order your solenoid, it's worth basically cleaning this up. Right, so now that the battery is connected, what I am going to do is basically short these two terminals right here. So you've got your negative and positive that goes straight from the battery. But what I want you to be aware of is, please make sure that your screwdriver is properly insulated. Don't use a metal rod or anything like this to do so, because you get electrocuted. So use a properly insulated screwdriver like this one, and also make sure that you are doing it on your own risk, because this is my method of testing it out. It's not the best, but I've seen it working, and that's how I'm going to test if the starter solenoid is okay. Also, before you go ahead, make sure that these cables don't touch the frame, because once that happens, you may have all sorts of problems. Anyway, let's go and start the bike up. So now I've got a constant ignition light. So I'll start it up, nothing happens, it blinks. So be careful what's gonna happen now. Short these two. Cool. So now if I'll do this and try to start it up, nothing. So this is literally the way I have found that this is a starter solenoid in this case. So what I'll do, I'll take the one that has been ordered and arrived today, and I'll remove this one. Obviously I'll replace it with the one that I've got, and we'll go from there. So I'll come back to you as soon as it's done. So this is how your starter solenoid should look like. One thing worth noting is that mine came with 30 amp fuses. You should be careful with these, because obviously if you have 15s in here, don't just assume you can install your new one with the fuses that came in, because obviously this may fry your electronics. So these ones will have to come out, and we'll place them in here before we install that solenoid and we start up the bike. I'll be back when that's done and the solenoid is in. Cool, now that we've got the new solenoid in with 15 amp fuses inside, so the old ones are here, as in the new ones, disregard my method of keeping the terminal from connecting. What I wanted to say is your solenoid screws will be of size 8, so you'll have 8mm sockets that you may use for these screws, and that's what I am going to do now. Right, with the old one out, now I've got the new one in, again 15 amp fuses, and what I am going to do, double check everything's connected as it should. Obviously you don't want to touch that, this is all good, so we're gonna go ahead and start the beauty. Good sign straight away is that the engine light doesn't shine, so let's go ahead and check if this helped. So that would be it for this problem. If I'll have any more in the future with other bikes, I'll happily record some more material for you to enjoy. Right, this is it for today, and I'll catch you in the next one. FZ8n out.